He was in prison. The new Italian government was negotiating with the Allies. They might hand Mussolini over any day. That could not happen. Hitler's order is clear. Find him, rescue him, no matter the cost. Skorzeny saluted and left the room. He had just been chosen for one of the most daring missions of the war, but there was one problem. He wasn't a spy. Skorzeny moved fast. By the end of July, he and a team of 36 disguised SS officers landed in Rome, working under Luftwaffe commander General Kurt Student. Their cover was thin. Nearly 40 SS men suddenly appearing in the city would draw suspicion. And there was another problem. No one knew where Mussolini was. Skorzeny had an idea. A nearby Nazi-run concentration camp produced counterfeit currency. He seized a stash of forged money and sent his men into the streets, bribing for information. It backfired. Locals gladly took the cash, trading rumors, lies, and wild speculation. In 1 week, the SS team burned through their funds and found nothing. Frustrated, General Student sent in reinforcements, 2 seasoned operatives. Kappler, a ruthless Gestapo spy, and Dolman, a smooth-talking diplomat. Kappler squeezed Roman police contacts. Dolman worked high society circles. They asked questions carefully. If Italy's new government realized the Nazis were hunting Mussolini, they'd move him, or worse. Then came a breakthrough. A Luftwaffe engineer spotted a heavily guarded convoy near Gaeta, a port on Italy's western coast. The next day, a German naval officer reported seeing Mussolini on a ship. Skorzeny had his first real lead. Mussolini was being moved, but to where? The SS team was drowning in contradictory reports. Ventotene, Elba, Santo Stefano, the dictator was everywhere and nowhere. Then, once again, the German Navy delivered the answer. A naval officer on Maddalena Island let slip that its only available car was reserved for Il Duce. Mussolini had to be there. Hitler demanded constant updates. Skorzeny had nothing concrete to report. His reputation and his life were on the line. He needed proof. On August 18, 1943, Skorzeny boarded a Heinkel bomber at an airfield outside Rome. His mission? Fly over Maddalena, take reconnaissance photos, confirm Mussolini's location. At 15,000 feet, he gripped his handheld camera, scanning the island below. But just as he prepared to take pictures, the plane lurched violently. A sharp crack echoed through the fuselage as the left engine failed. The bomber nosedived toward the sea, while the pilot fought desperately for control. It was too low for a parachute jump, leaving no choice but to attempt a crash landing. The impact was brutal, the cockpit crumpling on impact as water rushed in. Skorzeny and the pilot scrambled into a life raft, paddling with all their might to reach a nearby reef. Dazed and bruised, with 3 ribs broken, they struggled to stay afloat. Then an Italian naval cruiser appeared on the horizon. The very sailors he was spying on pulled him from the wreckage. But his crash near Mussolini's prison confirmed Italy's worst fears. The Germans were hunting their former ally. Prime Minister Pietro Badoglio didn't wait for proof. He ordered Mussolini moved immediately. They locked him away in a secluded ski resort perched atop Gran Sasso, one of Italy's highest and most unforgiving peaks. Hundreds of soldiers were stationed there with one simple instruction. If a rescue seemed imminent, Mussolini was to be executed. The alliance between Germany and Italy was collapsing. Mussolini's new location wouldn't stay hidden for long. In Rome, Gestapo spies Herbert Kappler had wiretaps installed across the city. It wasn't long before he intercepted a key conversation, a police inspector confirming security measures at Gran Sasso. The details were suspicious. Why was a ski resort heavily guarded in August? Kappler sent an agent to Isergi, a small village at the mountain's base. There, he uncovered another clue. The hotel's entire civilian staff had been dismissed without explanation. It was clear, Mussolini was there. With this new intelligence, General Kurt Student arrived in Italy. If Mussolini was within reach, Student would oversee the operation himself. Skorzeny wasn't pleased. This was his mission. But Student dismissed him, focusing instead on a strange report. Days earlier, a Red Cross seaplane had landed near an Italian military base. It was escorted by an armed ambulance and a convoy of vehicles. No one knew why. Student was convinced it had been Mussolini. Skorzeny wasn't so sure. He had little to show for himself so far. and now his role was shrinking. Reluctantly, he agreed to bring their findings to Hitler. Back at Wolf's lair, Hitler listened carefully. Then he laughed. Mussolini's prison was a luxury ski resort, amusing, but also an opportunity. This wasn't a fortified military complex, it was an isolated hotel. The raid should be simple. Skorzeny could lead it. Hitler gave the order. Mussolini would be rescued. The Germans knew Mussolini's location, but had no idea how to reach it. Gran Sasso was a fortress in the Skate. A single heavily guarded road wound up the mountain. A ground assault would be a disaster. Paratroopers were considered, but the risks were too great. Winds at that altitude could scatter them across the cliffs. Then came the solution: gliders. Major Harold Morse, a Luftwaffe paratrooper, was assigned to the mission. He was an expert in airborne warfare, known for his stealth and precision. His unit specialized in glider landings. Silent, sleek, and deadly, gliders needed only 60 feet to touch down.